Hey there guys, how's it going? I'm the Cyclist Vlogger and today it is stage 4 of the Tour de France review. I'm sorry this one is a little bit later than the last few, but we're gonna go for it anyway, just so that I can look back at it and see how I've done. So today's stage is pretty flat, has a bit of a hill just before the end there, but it's more of a rolling hill. It's only category 4, so it should be relatively alright. Um, and at the end there it has a 500-meter rise, so it still ended up really being a day for the sprinters. At 83 to go, there's a small break up the road with 4 men in the break. The gap's about minute 40 or so. The peloton is just trying to keep them at bay at the moment, just monitoring them a bit. At this point, the peloton is controlling the pace pretty well, with Tinkoff on the front, obviously doing that for Sagan. They're actually working for him for once. They're not letting the gap get too far ahead, and they're not really catching them with that much speed. You can see Dimension Data is up there a bit as well, and a bit of Lotto Sidel, but most of the time it's dominated by Tinkoff. Just as we pan into a shot here, we can see someone's attached a bear to their rearview mirror. Love it. Just as you thought you were missing those tractors that they were showing before, they've settled you down a bit. It's okay. We're still gonna show them tractors. Yup, those are some great tractors down there. Love them. 10 out of 10 for the tractor effort. As you can see, the breakaway is coming up to an intermediate sprint point, and the I Am Cycling rider gives a little wave. Here we go. Just in a second, he gives him a little wave, see you later, and that's exactly what Richie Porte is doing to his Tour de France hopes at this point. This might actually get a little bit intense now as they change the shot away from the actual action in the pack. As you can see, there is large lead-out trains on either side of the road. We've got an Etixx lead-out train, we've got a Tinkoff lead-out train, and we've got a bit of a Lotto Sidel train there as well. So it's going to get pretty heated at this point. Lucky the road is pretty wide at this point. So Etixx is leading out Cavendish. Cavendish isn't in Etixx. He's sitting right on the back of that lead-out train there. As you can see, it goes Cav in the green, Sagan in the yellow, and then Greipel sitting behind. So Etixx is doing a beautiful lead-out train. Sagan decides to go around Cavendish. He's like, nah, you're not a good enough sprinter for me. Sagan is going to just go straight around the outside, but Kittel is going for it too. Sagan tries to go for it. He lets Kittel, or Kittel thought about it. He thought about it, but he let Sagan have that one. Cavendish, I thought, let him have that one. But yeah, it got pretty interesting. Bit of an indicator of how it's going to go later on in the day. The breakaway is really going for it now after that intermediate sprint with 61 k's to go. They've increased that gap to 2 minutes, even though it had gone down a little bit before towards the intermediate sprint, but they've increased it now. So they've got back on the gas and they're got to really try go for it now. So the breakaway go over the KOM points. No one looks very interested except this Trek Segafredo rider who is defending it for his team leader. So he takes the points so that no one else will be able to. It's only a category 4 climb, so no one really cares about it too much at this point. Markel Uazar. I'm sorry for the pronunciation, I can never really pronounce those kinds of names right. The gap is starting to come down quite dramatically now, with the break now only at a minute 16 with 45 to go. So it's getting pretty intense now. So the peloton is, well, not too intense, but it's getting intense for the breakaway because they're aware of the fact that the peloton is starting to catch them up a bit. So yeah, the gap is now dramatically decreasing, and it's about to go under 1 minute. The gap has now gone under just under a minute, with about 40 kilometers or so to go. They're closing it down a lot quicker than they did yesterday at this point. That's some nice posters. I wouldn't mind a poster like that. Either way, they're closing it down pretty quickly at this point. Really, it's just going to be another game of cat and mouse between the peloton and the break at this point. The break know that the catch is inevitable, but they don't want to go back to it just yet because there's still a bit of a chance for them to make a name for themselves. But the peloton doesn't want to catch them just yet because at this point they can the other people in the peloton can still make a counter attack at this point and still get to the end if they pull out a decent enough gap. So yeah, everyone's just trying to think of the mental side at this point, just trying not to go too fast at this point and catch them too quickly. With about 30 kilometers to go, there's only about a 44-second gap from the peloton, so about a 40-second gap from the peloton to the only 3 men left in the break at this point. So one of the men have dropped off at the back, so the gap is still continuing to come down. He's probably just gone with team orders. He wouldn't have dropped off the pack at this point, because you can see just there, they're not actually going that fast at this point, the break that is. So he probably would have just come back due to team orders. So that will probably affect the break pretty badly, considering they're down a man and everyone has to do like about a third more work than they did previously. So that's going to affect the break a bit now. So the catch is going to be made very quickly now. Just here we're about to see another mint shot from the French broadcaster. This is absolutely amazing shot. Watch this. That's just beautiful. That's lovely and flowing. I love that shot. That's awesome. Either way, with not much road to cover still, there's only about 32 seconds between the break and the peloton. And the peloton is incredibly spread out for how far they still have left to go. I think they've I thought at this point they might have started a bit too early, but they ended up slowing it down a bit, so they could avoid any counterattacks. There you can see how there's only 3 men left in the break, so they've slowed it down a bit. Then the bunch will come back together a bit. So yeah, it's getting pretty interesting now. The peloton's actually they've made a bit of a mistake now going a bit too early, so they've had to slow it down a bit now. So the peloton is really leaving the break out to dry now, just constantly hovering at about 25 seconds or so. Drops down a little bit, then goes back up again. So peloton is just really straining this out as long as possible. They're doing almost the same thing that they did to Thomas Voeckler yesterday. With this helicopter shot here, you can see that most of the teams are coming to the front at this point. The peloton has really been leaving this one all the way up until just about in the 10-kilometer to go range. So they're just really leaving it out as long as possible. You can see a couple of the Movistar riders up there, Lotto Soudal, BMC. Really all the big teams that have a GC rider in their group, they're really just trying to make sure that their riders at the front in order to avoid any silly incidents at the back, really. Just before the catch is made, you can see this lovely IM cycling rider. Give a little thumbs up. Yeah, good work, mate, on ya. Kept it out here all day. We knew that we weren't going to stay away, but bloody good job, eh? Good work. After being on the front for most of the day yesterday, Thomas Voeckler is off the back. He's done his work for the day. He's done his work for his Direct Energy team. He's just gonna cruise on home now, just sit on the back of the peloton and make sure that he stays where he needs to be. These super tight corners just here mean that the break could stay out for a little bit longer than they usually would be able to. It's just like the run-in yesterday, how there was a lot of tight corners coming into here. Here we see the peloton coming around that same tight corner. You can see that they end up being a lot more spread out. It takes them a lot longer to get up to speed. And the Lotto Soudal rider just cruises off the front. Yeah, as you do. Sometimes I think that's just a bit dangerous, the way that they do that, the way they just freewheel. Because you have to react very quickly to get around someone when you're hitting about 60 km an hour. So here you can see that the break is literally about to be caught. They're just up there now. They should be caught any second now. But the IM rider, I believe his name is Nason, he's pulling a Voeckler and staying off the front as long as possible. Basically, he's just forgoing the pain of having to try and latch onto that peloton here. You can see one of the 3 musketeers that were from the break dropping into the peloton now, and he just goes straight out the back. There we are. Nason, I believe that is, and it was still on the front there. They're still trying to push it hard. And we're about to switch to a shot from behind of this little incline here. You can't really see it in this shot, but there we are. Lots of explosion off the back of all the domestiques that have been working hard all day. A lot of them have got very, very tired legs already. Even a couple of days into this tour, they've already worked very hard for their GC riders. Just look at the main groups here, the lead out trains. Everyone's just kind of looking at each other. It's like, you gotta go? I'm not gonna go. You gotta go for it? Nah, I'm not going for it. They're all just kind of looking at each other. Don't know what they're really going there. But either way, Sky, BMC, Olka Bike Exchange, and Tikoff all taking interest at the sprint at the end there. It's yeah, they've all got their lead out trains ready. You can see Sagan ready just in there. Got a bit of a Astana in there. And you can see just there's now Quintana, and there is BMC. That rider from Trek Segafredo that was in the break went straight out the back with a puncture. Marco Irizar just went straight out the back. As soon as he hit that peloton, he just went out the back, got a puncture, and that's his day over base. As you can see here, there's actually no dimension data on the front at this point. So I was getting a bit worried. I thought, where's Cavendish? He's not going to be able to be in contention at this point. But then I remembered that he sat on the Etixx train at the intermediate sprint and he was alright. So at this point, he had actually dropped to the back of the, towards the back in the middle of the peloton at this point. So the dimension data lead out train had to go back and get him and bring him back to the front. So just a bit more extra effort that they had to go to try and get him there. So you can see that Lotto Sudal is ready with Greipel, and then we've got a bit of Tinkoff in there as well. There's basically just two drag strips on either side of the traffic lines at this point. So we got Tinkoff, Lotto Sudal, Astana, and even a bit of Olka Bike Exchange in there. Oh, that was very, very close there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the rider that was sitting behind someone, and there was another very tight roundabout there. That is actually ridiculous. That is the worst roundabout that I've seen so far, and those islands are absolutely massive. There's a couple of riders buddy hopped over them, but you wouldn't be able to do that at much speed. So that's basically spread out the whole peloton again, and they have to catch their lead out men again. So as you can see, there's only two Tinkoff riders there. Obviously they're either there for Contador or Sagan. I believe they were leading out Sagan for this one, but the peloton has just been absolutely split up so badly there. There's just one long line now. So if you're back in this line here, which some of the major contenders were, you didn't have much of a chance, but everyone that is in the GC can breathe a sigh of relief now because they've just gone under 3 km to go better. So if there's a crash ahead, their time is the same as everyone else's. As you can see, we've got some OBE there, and we got some Lotto Sudal. So Sagan is just here, I believe you can see it. Sagan is just in behind Greipel there, so he's getting really ready. He knows which wheels to follow. I think it goes Greipel, Matthews, and then Sagan. Cavendish is still nowhere to be seen, although you can see some Dimension Data teams coming up there. So Dimension Data is finally starting to actually take some interest in, well, not really taking interest, they've actually managed to bring their man up there. So Lotto Sudal has the optimum line at this moment, leading out Greipel. He has 3 or 4 men, I believe it's 4 men, oh no, 3 men, sorry. 3 men in front of him that are about to lead him out. Katusha is just there as well. They haven't really been there for the endings at this point. They always seem to be just in behind another team. They haven't really been there at this point, but that's what we're focusing on at this point. Here we go. Lotto Sudal is getting ready. Greipel is there. You can see Cavendish's green helmet peeking through every now and then. And as we come into this shot, with 1 kilometer to go just now, they go under the banner, and Greipel is in the optimum position at this point. We can see Sagan moving up the side near the Katusha riders, and on his left are the Etixx riders. The Etixx riders are getting ready now. They're leading at Kittel. Direct Energy is in there as well. Direct Energy is doing a good job just on the left there, sort of the center area. Greipel is very well placed at this point, although it looks as though it's two Katusha riders that are leading him out. Kittel is going for it now, though. Kittel has launched his lead-out train. Sagan is ready for him. You can see Coquard is just in behind Sagan there. So Coquard is ready to go whenever Sagan goes. Kittel and Greipel go for it. Sagan is beside him. And it looks like Greipel has gone too early. He is blown up. He didn't have enough left in his leg. Sagan doesn't have the sprinting power. Cavendish is nowhere to be seen. And it is a very, very tight finish between Kittel and Coquard. That was incredibly close. That made yesterday's stage look like it was miles apart. There wasn't much chance of being able to call that one, but I'll tell you now that it was Kittel who won that one in the end. Coquard doing a very nice leaning on him at that point. Really trying to put it in. I don't think he had the energy, just didn't have the energy at the end there to get around. Here you can see Coquard just goes straight around Sagan. Sagan doesn't have enough left in the tank at that point. He's gone too early. Coquard has had to come a long way back, 2 or 3 bike lengths from behind Kittel. He's really trying to put it in there. Kittel is a lot smoother. And yeah, Kittel gets it on the line. I can tell you that one now. Yeah, Kittel just gets it. And then Sagan gets the third. So obviously the overall stays the same. The stage classification was, there we go, right there. Oh, well timed. Kittel, Coquard, then Sagan. That was provisional, so they didn't actually know at that point. So well done to Kittel. That was very, very tight. And that's all for today. I'm the Cyclist Blogger, and I'll see you later.